Everyone, my name is Maya Fortune from Tribeca New Music, and I'm here today with the incredible Paul Novak, whose composition Entwining will be performed this Friday with the Unheard-of ensemble on December 5th at 7:30 at the Domena Center for Classical Music. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be back on Tribeca New Music and to work with Unheard-of Ensemble. It's going to be a blast.
Wonderful. So, can you tell me a little bit about your musical journey, how you became a composer? And I know that now you're a PhD candidate, which is super exciting. So, how did that happen?
Yeah, so I started playing music the way I think so many musicians do, which is in public school, elementary school band. I started playing the flute, and I think that especially when I was just starting to play music, the main thing that I loved was just playing music with other people. I mean, that feeling of playing a chord with a larger ensemble. Pretty soon around that time, too, I started playing in really terrible indie bands, and that was a huge part of my musical development as well. But I really do think that that social, that interactive element of music making has always been the driving force between what I do. I mean, I think that even though as a composer, you spend a lot of time by yourself, you're writing, getting all your scores all ready for the musicians. Ultimately, to be a composer, you need to always be working with other people. So I grew up in Reno, Nevada, and then for college, I moved to Texas, to Rice University. And I loved it there. I mean, Rice is a place that is a combination of a big research university and a conservatory too. And for me, it was like the perfect place. And it's such a wonderful place to be a composer, especially because the performers at the music school are just phenomenal. And it's a really small composition program. And so all of my closest friends were the performers I was working with, which is exactly what you want in a composition program. And then in 2020, I moved to Chicago to start a doctorate at University of Chicago. And I've now lived in Chicago for 5 years, and I love it here. This is my favorite city, and I've built such an amazing community here. I'm also still a flutist. I mostly play new music these days. And one of the things that I spend a lot of my time doing now is running a contemporary music ensemble called Mycelium New Music. And we do a lot of different kinds of projects, but the real focus of our work is championing the music by emerging composers. And so for me, this has been such a gratifying and amazing way to program music by my friends, to program music that I really believe in, that I know has not been heard in Chicago yet, and just in general to collaborate with an amazing group of musicians that I love working with.
That's fantastic. Wait, mycelium is kind of like mushrooms, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
So, do you guys have anything specific that you perform surrounding the beauty of fungi?
So it's really like a metaphor for us. I really like this idea of the mycelial network, which is the underground network of fungi, which is how all of the trees in a forest communicate. They share resources, they send messages back and forth. And this is how I think of the ensemble too. We're like this underground network that is supporting all of the different artists in an ecosystem, in Chicago's artistic ecosystem and beyond in the broader world too. Beyond that, we really like to have punny names for all of the different projects that we do. So like we're doing a series of concerts this year called the Spores series, which is like a chamber music series, but it's an acronym for Satellite Performance of Reduced Ensemble. We have our sort of flagship program is called the Rhizome Project, which is where we bring a bunch of composers to Chicago every year and do a second performance of one of their pieces, just because I feel like there's so much focus put on premieres. But for me, speaking as a composer, getting that second performance of a piece really makes all the difference in terms of it having a life too, and having it kind of bloom forward beyond just that initial premiere.
That's amazing. So, in your bio, you have a lot of inspirations, and now talking to you about Spore and everything, it seems like language is a big part of that and literature. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that, like I was saying, I'm a very collaborative artist. I love working with other people. And one of my favorite types of collaboration is with poets. So I really do love working with language and especially setting text to music when the person who wrote the text is right next to me and you can ask questions and send things back and forth. I think that's such a special process. For me, I think poetry is especially close to home because my mom is a poet too. And so I grew up reading a lot of poetry and I write poetry too. So I think there's I think oftentimes a sort of kinship between poets and composers, but for me especially, I think it's a wavelength that I like to be on. And I think that like to think very intentionally about what types of texts you want to set to music too, because for so many poems, I think they're already kind of complete worlds in themselves, and sometimes to add music to them actually detracts in a certain way. And so I never want to just be adding something that's unnecessary to a poem. I think it's much more special when you're creating something new together that really needs both the text and the music to exist.
Yeah, that's really awesome. So, moving on to our December 5th show, can you tell us about? So, you told me that you've performed with Tribeca New Music before. Can you tell me about that? And then can you tell me about the upcoming performance of Entwining?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a very lovely full circle moment, and the reason for that is that I had a piece on Tribeca New Music, I think back in 2018, so 7 years ago, and it's really special to be coming back to have another piece programmed on the festival now. The piece that I had programmed 7 years ago was a piece I wrote in college called Anatomies of Fragile Things. It was a trio that won the undergrad version of the composer competition back then. And so now to have won the kind of older division of that competition is really special. And I remember just having a blast. The performers were amazing. It was just a fabulous performance that I remember crossed a lot of different aesthetics too. Like you had some hyper experimental European modernist music, and then a lot of music too that drew a lot of influence from pop music. So it was just a very kind of eclectic program that I remember really enjoying being a part of. Yeah, and then the show coming up this Friday, I'm so delighted to be working with Unheard-of Ensemble, a group that I've never worked with as an ensemble. I've worked with a couple of the individual musicians in it before, but I totally admire their work so much. I think that some of the commissioning projects they've done in the last few years have been working with the most exciting composers in the United States. And in particular, this program, my piece, Entwining, is not a premiere, but the other two pieces on the program by Chris Stark and Christian Quiñones, two composers that I absolutely love and have very close friendships with too, so I'm very excited to get to hear their music on that program. My piece, Entwining, was a piece that was originally written for Music from Copeland House as a part of a festival that they run every year called Cultivate. And this is such a wonderful program where 6 composers every year get commissioned to write a new piece for this instrumentation, which is clarinet, violin, cello, and piano. And now this program is running for over a decade, and so many amazing pieces have been commissioned through it. And I feel really grateful to have gotten to take a part in it and see so many of the other composers I got to meet there just really flourish and their careers really take off. It's a piece that's a pretty short piece. It's maybe 9 minutes long in 3 movements. And I would say that the piece is an exploration of a concept that I call collective virtuosity, which is basically the idea that it's not the individual parts that are virtuosic and challenging. It's the way that they fit together, the way that they entwine. And so there's a lot of a musical technique in the piece known as hocket, which is basically where a melody is split up like a puzzle between the different parts. And only by fitting it together in this complicated rhythmic way can the full melody emerge. And for me as a performer, I love playing this kind of music too, where every single part is essential and there is a level of challenge to putting it together. But then when you finally get that melody to emerge, it's a really rewarding experience.
That's fantastic. I'm so excited to hear it. So, is your experience as a flutist, how do you connect it to then this ensemble? Because strings and piano, as a composer, you kind of have to embody all of these different instruments.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me at least, I think it's a little bit different for everyone, but for me, I think learning the craft of composition is really learning to have empathy for people who play all sorts of different instruments, right? To be able to understand in a very specific, embodied way what it's like to play percussion or play violin, even if you don't actually play that instrument. And for me, I think that's a lot of fun. That's one of the things that is most satisfying about learning to write for a new instrument. I think that my experience as a flutist definitely lends itself to writing a specific kind of music too. I mean, I think they're very much linked together. Mostly, I would say that I try to write music that I would like to play myself too. And oftentimes, even if it's not music that I'll end up playing, like for example, for this piece, I don't play any of those instruments, so I'll never perform in twining. But I try to write music that will have a sense of reward too. Like if the performers are putting in a bunch of work to play all these rhythms and notes correctly and get the character exactly right, that there will be something that comes out of it for them too, that'll be a really rewarding experience.
Yeah. So with the process working with Unheard-of, have you been able to talk with them or rehearse with them a little bit to try and kind of bridge that gap between composer and composition?
So at the moment, we actually haven't had a chance to work together yet. I think when I arrive in New York, we're going to have a chance to rehearse. So I'm really looking forward to that. They've had a busy fall. I think they've been on tour this whole time, which is super exciting. I think with this piece in particular too, one of the things that's been so special is I was just looking before this to see the number of different groups that have played it, and it's almost 15 groups now, which is so special for me as a composer because every single group that's played it has brought something different to it, and in a certain way, it's almost like even when I'm in rehearsal, coaching it or giving comments, every group brings their own unique interpretation to it, and it's sort of not mine anymore. It's kind of out in the world, just alive, and I love that feeling of having a piece just that's shared with other people. I think that ultimately for me, kind of in a broader sense, I think as a culture we're very focused on individuals. We're very focused on. I think. There's a lot of music making from a place of just pushing one's own career forward. And I really like the idea of music making as like service to others, as like a gift to other people. And that's a big thing to fulfill, but definitely something I strive towards in my work.
Yeah, that it's a beautiful goal to have. So, along these lines, I feel like you've been saying a lot of inspirational things. Something that we always ask every composer we interview is what advice you would give to an up and coming composer who's just getting started or is in the business.
I think the advice that I would give is that your greatest resource is your community. And I think this is true no matter what kind of music you're writing, no matter what kind of music you're playing, no matter what the people that you're friends with, that you're working with, that you're taking classes with, those are the people that are going to be the ones who support you in your career. And I think this is especially true as a composer too, where nothing we do can be on our own. It's always working with other people. And for me at least, like it's been really special to see some of my like closest friends from college who we were just like taking music theory 101 together, and those have really blossomed into some of the most important artistic collaborations of my life too. And and so I would say just don't forget that even when there's all these prestigious competitions and opportunities out there, you already have access to the greatest resource, which is the people around you.
Amazing. Thank you. Well, it was so great to talk to you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to see you on December 5th at 7:30 at the Domena Center for Classical Music, where Entwining will be performed by Unheard-of Ensemble, and we'll see you there as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maya. I'm really looking forward to it and looking forward to meeting you there.